Hello, nerds. It's going to be another quick one. I don't know if I'm even going to get the editing for the images up on the screen. So I had a crazy day yesterday trying to set up another interview with a pretty well-known local musical artist. So that it should be coming your way in December, assuming I can get everything lined up. Yesterday was just kind of all encompassed by that, and it was Halloween, so that was kind of taking priority over some things too, so I didn't get a whole lot of research done yesterday. So this morning, I finished the research, which was about 90% of the research, finished the research, now I'm filming, then I have to go edit just to get it all posted, so it's gonna be crazy, we're going fast, grab your butts and join me for this adventure, and here's an intro. Alright guys, no housekeeping. I kind of took care of the housekeeping right there at the beginning. Got the Lawrence McNaughton interview posted, so go check that out. I'll try and put a thing up here, card. If I got the time, it'll go up. Otherwise, maybe I'll have to put it up later. Anyway, no real housekeeping. Jumping right into music. We got first, a big, gigantic, and well, kind of gigantic. It is Rage Against the Machine is doing another stint on tour together. The original band, all four original members, are doing this little tour, with Coachella being one of the dates. It's starting. Actually, this is the first set of live performances they've done since 2011, which is kind of a long time. No, it's probably not going to turn into new material, though that would be really freaking awesome. It's not likely. Just, some interesting tour dates. It's mostly in Latin America, and then, like I said, Coachella. So there's that. Also, in the reunion side of music, we're talking about My Chemical Romance, a band I really have a mild appreciation for at best. By and large, I'm not a fan of MCR, but they're huge, and so it's newsworthy that they also are doing a reunion set. They're only performing one show. It's in LA. Tickets are not on sale yet. It will be December 20th, so very, very soon those tickets will go on sale. I think actually tomorrow is when the tickets go on sale. So if you are an MCR fan, and I know a couple of you out there are, I posted the article, the link to this article on the Twitter earlier today, tagged a buddy of mine who I know is an MCR fan. Check it out. Set your alarm so you can buy your tickets, because they are going to sell out very, very fast. Next, we're talking about a new music video from Agnostic Front, which is a band I honestly really, really like. Hardcore stalwarts. They haven't really changed a whole lot in the 30 plus years they've been a band, but they have been around for 30 plus years, so that's kind of freaking awesome. The name of the song is I Remember, so it's kind of one of those nostalgia throwback deals. The name of the record that it's coming off of is Get Loud, and that will be out November 8th, which is really weird that a band is releasing a record at the end of the year. That's an unusual thing. Though, I mean, New York hardcore is what it is, and they don't really care about that kind of stuff, so I'm super stoked. Roger Moret and, I can't even remember off the top of my head. Notes are what they are. I'm super excited. This is, again, a band that I really actually like. It is a genre that I like, so yeah, we're moving on. Finally, we have another new music video for a song called Rise from the band Apocalyptica. The cellists in Apocalyptica, and their drummer now, since they've had a drummer for the last, 3 records, are putting out a new record called Cell-O, or maybe it's Cell-O, it's CELL-O. Don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it is coming out in January, which is more in line with what most people do when they're on a big, giant label. Well, promoters are less likely to book you if you put out a record last year. Even if last year was a week ago, if you put out a record at the end of December, come January, according to larger record labels, promoters are less likely to promote your live show because your record is now, quote, a year old, which is garbage, and I hate it, but that is the state of the industry. So that's why we're getting Apocalyptica in January and Agnostic Front in December, because Agnostic Front's on a tiny little record, well, tiny, Napalm Records is not tiny, but their fans don't care when their record came out. They're gonna go anyway. Apocalyptica, since they do have that pop status, their fans kind of care when their record came out because they're kind of fickle, and that's what we got for music, and we're moving on. And we're jumping right into TV streaming. It's a quick one. Just the last 2 weeks have been so crazy for me. So, quick one. TV streaming. We have House of the Dragon. If you have been living under a rock and you don't know already, then let me be the one to tell you that Game of Thrones prequel, the Naomi Watts one, has been canceled. That was the one that was going to be taking place a few thousand years before the story of A Song of Fire and Ice, which is Game of Thrones as we know it. That one got canceled. That was the one that we were going to get a lot of Stark and not a lot of Targaryen because not a lot of Targaryens because House Targaryen didn't exist. I'm pretty sure that's the way that goes. Anyway, that one got scrapped, and we're getting the Targaryen one that leads directly into, because we've talked about all 5 of the potential series, and these are the 2 that got pilots, and of the 2 pilots, they went with the Targaryen one, which makes freaking sense because it's the most well put together, it has the most defined vision, and it actually has involvement from George R.R. Martin. The other one had none of those things, so there you go. Next, we're talking about HBO Max, and first in the HBO Max update, because we had a proper press event for HBO Max beginning of the week. First thing we have is DC Superhero High. Elizabeth Banks is going to be executive producing a series based on kids that go to boarding school who will then become DC superheroes. It's a teenage comedy. It sounds decent. Elizabeth Banks has excellent comedy chops, but we'll find out what her nerd cred is here as more details about this come out, and as she starts to try and prove herself to the nerd world. Next, on the HBO Max launch event thing, we're talking about Green Lantern. HBO Max launches May 2020, and both the DC Superhero Kids and this one, or what is it? DC Superhero High, sorry. DC Superhero High and this Green Lantern show are both set to be launch titles with HBO Max. And that brings the interesting part of the Green Lantern, because this is going to be a series. It is done by Greg Berlanti, because he's got his hands in everything DC TV has to offer, including over on DC Universe, but this isn't going to be a DC Universe series, so that puts it in a really interesting situation. Is this going to be tying into the DC Extended Universe movies? Potentially. Is this potentially going to have something to do with the DC Universe series? Multiple series? Potentially. Is this going to be the bridge that brings the CW DC shows together with everything else? Potentially. That much has not been announced, but it's a lot of fun to speculate. Next, we're talking about Pennyworth. Real quick update. Season 2 has been confirmed. We will be getting a second season of Pennyworth, which means I have to watch Season 1. Also, we will be getting a Season 2 over on Netflix for Another Life, the Katie Sackhoff starring series, science fiction series where they're out in space. Actually binged the whole thing in one freaking day for some reason. It's pretty good. It's not the greatest science fiction series, but it's pretty good. It's worth a watch. Definitely if you're doing things and you want something on in the background, put on Another Life, because you can miss about 50% of that show and still get a good quality enjoyment out of it. That's what we have for TV and streaming. Now we are moving over to movies. Movies, we have a really freaking cool horror update. La Laurie is going to be a series that is written by Chad and Carrie Hayes, who were writers on the Conjuring series as well. They will be starting a new series based on Madame La Laurie, which will be obviously based in New Orleans. If you're not familiar, Google at your own risk, because that gets really dark. Next, we have a follow-up on The Batman. Jeffrey Wright has officially signed his name on the deal, and he will be our next Jim Gordon. Then we have the first trailer from Code 8, Robbie and Stephen Amell's next project together. It looks really cool. I kind of ignored this at the beginning of the week because I was like, I don't know, man. Robbie and Stephen Amell really kind of says cheese to me. This trailer kind of says otherwise. It's not that cheesy. It looks pretty freaking good. So we've got that. Books of Blood is the next thing we're talking about, but a more horror. Clive Barker's Books of Blood is going to be adapted as a movie for Hulu by Seth MacFarlane and his writing partner Brandon Braga, and one of his writers, I guess is more appropriate, Brandon Braga. Brandon is one of the writers on The Orville with Seth. Be really interested to see how Seth MacFarlane approaches horror, because we've seen how horror translates the other direction. We got Peter Jackson's version of an action fantasy movie, and Peter Jackson is a horror director. And then we got Sam Raimi doing a comic book movie, and Sam Raimi is also a horror director. So it'll be interesting to see that go the opposite direction. So yeah, moving on. The last piece we have in movies is a follow-up on that Hocus Pocus 2 piece we talked about in the last episode. It seems Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy both are on board with a couple of caveats. They both basically said, as long as my schedule lines up and I approve of the script and how you treat my character, absolutely, let's do this. Though they have not officially been in contact with Disney about the project. So don't get your hopes too high. Now let's talk gaming, guys, because again, we're trying to burn through this. So Diablo IV officially announced. We got our first 3 classes also announced at BlizzCon: Mage, Sorceress, and Druid. Sorry. Woo! Lost my mind. Also, trailer, link in the description. Check out the trailer. It looks freaking awesome. No official release date announced yet, but they did say it will be for the current generation of systems, so it will be sometime between now and the end of next year, because we know that's when the next consoles will be launching. Next, we have a really kind of different update on gaming than we normally do, because this is about the OneUp cabinets. For those of you that don't know, OneUp, I don't know how the company structure works, but whoever puts out these OneUp cabinets has the rights to some old arcade ROMs. So they are selling them in these smaller cabinets, and they're the OneUp Arcade cabinets. They're like half size to the original cabinets, I believe. There's the collector's edition of each cabinet, and then the generic edition of each cabinet. Collector's edition obviously recreates the physical cabinet as well as the game inside, whereas the generic edition is just kind of a black cabinet, and then you get the full game on the inside. So, I mean, Mortal Kombat, I think all 3 original Mortal Kombat games are now in the cabinet forms. That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about the newest launches are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, Star Wars, the old arcade, not any of the new stuff. So Star Wars and the Marvel Superheroes games all are currently in stock and have recently been released, and in stock at Walmart, and I believe Costco and Sam's Club as well. Definitely at Walmart. Now, I don't normally advocate buying stuff from Walmart, but this is one thing that's really worth it to get from Walmart. Next, we're talking about Mixer. Again, a little more meta for this episode. Mixer just permanently dropped their subscription cost from $6 a month to $5 a month, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but when you consider the fact that they are really trying to stick it to Twitch, and Twitch's monthly subscription cost is $5, that makes sense that they would do that, right? So that's kind of freaking awesome. And then our final update comes from Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon at the Brazil Game Show said that they are considering doing a remaster, not a remake and not a continuation, but a remaster. So the same game with presumably updated graphics and or controls. Very likely graphics, maybe not controls, because the controls in that game were pretty freaking solid. So they're considering doing an remaster for Shaolin Monks. Sorry, I think I buried the lead on that one. Shaolin Monks is the game, which is, aside from the fighting games, because all of the fighting games, by and large, actually no, I would put this above about half of the fighting games. So you've got 1, 2, Ultimate, and then 11X and Shaolin Monks would probably be right about 6. So yeah, there you go. There's my tier of Mortal Kombat games. Actually no, I probably would put that 2, 1. Let's see, 2, 3, 1, 11X. And then Shaolin Monks. So it's still 6. Anyway, Shaolin Monks, very possibly, because it's putting it out there in the ether. Ed Boon is just putting it out there. This is a thing we're considering. There's already a bunch of fan hype around it. I hope it happens. But that's what we got for gaming. Next is comic books. We only have one piece in comic books, and I'm actually pretty excited about it because it is the collection of the deceased storyline. So DC's Zombies, effectively, is now getting its proper trade. There is a trailer for it. If you have not read it yet, which I've only read the first 2 issues, I'm going to be getting this book. If you have yet to read any of the issues, then definitely pick up this book. Now we're into the rumor mill, one of my more favorite parts to do research for because it's so much fun to speculate and see all of the crazy theories out there on the interwebs and then kind of put them together with the stuff that holds the most water and present them to you nerds right here on the show. So, rumor mill. First off, we have a couple of leaks around Moon Knight, the Moon Knight series that we know is coming to Disney+. There are some quote-unquote leaks. I'll believe it when I see it. That's usually how I approach leaks. And I'm not going to be reading in explicit detail the leaks. I will be giving you the gist and nothing too spoilery, just in case it is legit. You can find these if you are a 4chan user. There's red flag number 1. If you are a 4chan user, you can find these leaks yourself. It's really not that hard, but we have a leak. So the beginning of the leak says the timeline for the series is going to be bouncing back and forth between 2003 and 2023. So that seems really cool, and also describes the series as a weird amalgamation of Westworld and Mr. Robot, which is even more crazy. And I think probably the least believable part of this leak says that Disney Plus will not be pulling very many punches with this show because Moonlight is pretty dark and violent and bloody. It sounds like, again, according to this leak, and this is the part that I believe the least, it sounds like they're going to go really hard on that PG-13 area of content, because in the very first episode, we get a man thrown off of the top of a building to his death. That's crazy. It's a little heavy, Disney. It's a little dark. The other half of this leak puts us, and there's a few actors that are being said linked to this project, or that they're eyeing for this project. I think the one that kind of sounds the most fun. Let's put it that way. The one that sounds the most fun is Shia LaBeouf. There's a short list. It's about 6 other actors that are being considered for this, according to this leak. That was just my favorite of the 6. So next, we're moving over to Wonder Woman 1984. This is one that apparently started a little while ago, and I'm only just now catching wind of it, but it seems interesting, and we also kind of have quasi-confirmation to the contrary, but nothing set in stone. So, the leak is that Wonder Woman 1984 will be the official movie that reboots all of the DCEU, which kind of flies in the face of some of the rumors that we've talked about in previous episodes, very recently previous episodes, though that kind of is an interesting thing to consider. We do know, though, that the director has said that she wants her Wonder Woman movies to be standalone movies on their own right. They're not necessarily linked. So the fact that we're getting Steve Rogers again in this movie doesn't necessarily mean we're rebooting anything. It just means that they don't understand the property that they have, and they don't understand how comic books work. So yeah, maybe not. But it would also be really interesting to see this be the reason why the DCEU reboots, and then we get some sort of Robert Pattinson cameo at the end, maybe in a Stinger trailer, the post-credit scene, something like that. That would be pretty cool. Though I'm not holding my breath. I don't think that's really going to happen. Also, rumors on the DC Warner Brothers side of things, we're looking at Kingdom Come. Warner Brothers is reportedly looking into doing some sort of Kingdom Come project. Whether or not it's going to be a movie or a series remains to be seen, though that could explain why Brandon Routh, one of the reasons at least, why Brandon Routh is going to be wearing the Kingdom Come Superman suit in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event on the CW. Also, just a random thought, wouldn't it be freaking awesome if this Crisis on Infinite Earths series kind of brought all of their universes together so that we get Grant Gustin as the movie Flash as well? Not super freaking likely, but fun to think about. Next, we're talking about Justice League Dark. Yes, that's right. Apparently, Warner Brothers is now, because they have seen quite a few treatments for the script, they're now reconsidering putting this movie back on the table for production. They have to settle on a script, is according to the rumor, but it sounds like this will be the next announced Warner Brothers DC property. And then our final rumor for the rumor mill in this episode has to do with gaming. If you are a fan of survival horror, then this is right up your alley. Apparently, Dead Island 2 is going to be a launch title for the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet, which kind of gives us a time frame, but they haven't announced it yet. So what the heck? Let's announce this freaking game and get it going. That also is not to say, according to the rumor, that the game won't be released on current generation consoles, but again, according to the rumor, it is going to be a targeted release date by the launch of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet. And that is what we have for rumors, and aren't they so juicy? And that is the end of the episode, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. Website, generallynerdy.net, patreon.com/generallynerdy, all of the things. If you're falling behind, there's links over there. You can click and you can go watch older videos and other videos right here on the channel. Patreon.com/generallynerdy one more time. And before we go, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and I'm going to try and slow down next time.